Wow. Can you believe it? We're back. Folks, welcome to Lauren's Dreamhouse. I'm Lauren LaRoe, and you might be wondering why I'm not in a bathtub, or it's your first time here and you're like, why would you be in a bathtub? Um, I'm bringing this back not because you want it or need it or ask for it or anything. No one requested this, obviously. I feel like it's going to be pretty important to document the next couple weeks and months of life. Um, Things are getting hot in good ways and bad ways. Um, Usually, I do this in a bathtub because it makes me feel like I have extra privacy. Now, I live alone, so these are just the mental gymnastics that I do to um, feel more comfortable in my already small space. But right now, I'm at an undisclosed Floridian location. Well, I said Florida, but Florida is a very big place. Um, I'm here for 2 weeks. Your boy got a motherfucking rental car, and I'm just whipping it. I'm whipping it east. I'm whipping it west. I mean, there's really no limit to what I can do in this rental car. And I'm having a fabulous time. I'm here for a couple of reasons. I'll get to that in a second, but I guess it would make more sense if I started by talking about the cigarette club a little bit. So, um, y'all, there are sounds in this house that um, keep me up at night. Sorry. So, essentially, for the last 2 years, I had a show called The Cigarette Club, and it was a variety show. And speaking about it in past tense is very weird to me because I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life doing the show. And I so much so that I have a tattoo for it now. It's over there. See that little club? That's for the cigarette club. Um, I it was the most fun and greatest honor of my life to work with Tom Monda of Thank You Scientists and a trillion other musical projects. Amy Boland, my best friend, producer of the Cigarette Club. It was such a blast, and I really thought I was going to do it forever. But I mean, I had to end it for a couple of reasons. Number one, it put me in a significant amount of debt that I physically can't handle the stress of anymore. And number two, because it's just too limiting of a format. And the debt came because I just kept, um, not to be an asshole, but I kept paying everyone way more than what we were making. And I never made any money personally, but the show itself made thousands of dollars. Like, it's a huge accomplishment to have sold tickets in New York and LA and have had a bunch of people come through on multiple occasions and you know see the show in all its different forms. And we had 8 shows. I'm extremely proud of, I think, all of them, most of them. I'm proud of the effort as a whole. But yeah, it was too much. It was too much stress for not a lot of reward. It was cool to have pictures. It was cool to have clips. It was cool to make the connections with different comics that I've never met before, and to travel with the people that I love the most. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like a glorified showcase. And I never wanted it to be that. When Tom and I started it, it was so much more than that. And eventually, I mean, it took like 8 months to craft the first show, and the first show had a lot of variety. It was nice. And ultimately, we wanted to do shows more frequently and play around with different band members. And, this group is going on tour and that group is going on tour. And like, we changed band members, we changed venues, like, and through the whole process of so much turnover out of our control, and um wanting to do it on a more frequent basis but not really being able to afford the vision that I had, essentially. I just kind of had to put it to an end, and it was really sad, but at the same time, like, you have to quit while you're ahead. And I feel like everyone was loving it, and our last show was amazing. We had so much fun, and people are like, why did you stop it? And I'm like, because I want to put more effort into stuff. I want to put more money into stuff that I can continue on a not regular basis. Like, I mean, the reason why I'm here in Florida was to is I'm still here. The reason I'm here is to clear my head and focus on this new show, a completely new effort. It's not a showcase. There's no stand up in it. It's I don't know how much I'll share during the course of this podcast, which will be short. And thanks for waiting, by the way. All 10 million of you who have been banging down my door and asking why it's not out. I don't know how much I'm going to share over the course of this specific episode about what I'm working on, but not to be so dramatic about it, but it's my masterpiece. And I really needed to put myself in a position where I didn't have all the shit in my house that would distract me. I wanted to be in the warmth. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to go for runs. It's getting nicer in Jersey City, New York now. So like when I go home in a few days, it'll be kind of like it is down here. We're turning the corner finally, and things are getting nicer and more comfortable, and people are getting happier. But I came down here for 2 weeks to really put myself in a small room, no TV. I didn't get to take off of work, but I work remotely, so the goal was to just limit distraction and create something. I've had small ideas, not small ideas, but like I've had a couple of different seeds of ideas that, I was like, well, do I want my new show to go in this direction or that direction? Like I knew that some of the fundamental components were kind of like locked down. Like, I know it's going to be a musical. It is still a musical. Sorry, I'm a little drunk and I just burped. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it is a musical. I'm excited that I get to work on something that is long form, that I can do multiple showings of, and that I can, invest all of my time and money and effort into something that can yield a lot more in return. And it's not all about making money. I get that. But like at a certain point, you gotta believe in what you're doing and give yourself credit and like acknowledge your worth and be like, no, I'm putting my entire dick into this effort and I should be getting something in return. If it matters this much to me, I'm working this hard on it, why should I not reap the maximum amount of benefits from that? And every cigarette club show we did 8 of them. they were fabulous, but I was kind of hell bent on making it like different every single time. And that was part of the variety flavor. I didn't want people to really expect much other than the fact that like I will be there, my ass will likely be out, and there will be a band, and the band will be comprised of remarkable musicians from all over the area. And I believe that I delivered on that every single time. But we also had a bunch of comics doing different things and sketch groups, and everyone really impressed me and impressed all my friends and family, and I'm so grateful to everyone who came out. But it's time for me to really show everybody what I'm capable of. And it just feels like everything is aligning in a way that it's not like this has been effortless, but like the journey of this new show, up until a couple of days ago, it has been, I've been calling it the Untitled Florida Project 2025, but it has a name now. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's so clear to me now what I'm going to be doing. And there's still a lot to be done, but I've been here writing music and writing, I guess, just a full ass fucking musical for the first time. I've written music for the better part of 20 years. Yeah, that's exactly right. I've been writing music for 20 years, actually. That's really fucked up to say that I'm almost 30. Not that I care about being 30. I'm beautiful and perfect, and we're all going to age. I'm grateful to age. I'm grateful to be able to age and to be healthy and cool, and have so much love around me and so many people that support me. But ultimately, it's time. It's time, baby. Everything's aligning. We are really cooking with fire this time. And every week I'll maybe drop some more details or share a little bit more. But look, this is basically a video diary, and you're just here for the ride. And I know I have a nice size of a nice. I got a lot of people out there loving and supporting me, and I know people liked this podcast, and I liked doing it too. But the cigarette club kind of took over all my time. I don't regret that at all. But now that I'm working on this, and I have a little bit more downtime, or rather, like all of my deadlines are created by me now, and like they were before because I was in charge of the cigarette club. But I now everything is kind of like, okay, this is going to take a minute. I have to make all my own deadlines. I have to figure out every single thing from scratch all over again. And that's nothing new to me. I'm so used to starting over. It's very exhausting, but it's something that at this point I'm really good at. So you're going to be hearing some updates periodically. And I'm going to be dropping in here, giving you my take on what's going on in the world. And, no one's making you watch this, but if you're listening this far, then clearly you must care a little bit. So thanks and welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. We get real here. And man, do I love Florida. And I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about Florida, and it's how it compares to other parts of the country. I think it was, COVID sucked. It wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life, but it exposed a lot of truths, to say the least. But I'm specifically referring to the reality of like we're living in a time when it's not really necessary to live in a specific place if you want to reach a certain goal, unless what you're trying to do like is Broadway, like which is a place, or rather a collection of places. Um, you can't be a Broadway star if you live in Florida, but you can be a movie star. You can write something and have management or an agency, helping you disseminate those projects and like reach different people and pitch things, right? Like, and COVID, the lockdown rules, the imposition of COVID. Am I even using that correctly? I'm so sorry. I'm rambling my little dick off, but my point is that like LA got way worse than New York. Like New York kind of needed to keep going quicker than LA just because there's too much going on in New York, and there's a lot going on in LA too, but New York is like kind of the center of the country in terms of like, the diversity of different industries and types of people and socioeconomic stati. I don't know. Um, so like people kind of they didn't like flee New York. A lot of people did, but overall, like New York was locked down, quote unquote, and then it came back sooner than most things because it had to. Like there's things to do, and then LA kind of was a little bit slower and a little bit more hardcore about rules. And so a lot of people packed up and went to Austin. And I'm pretty sure I shared my thoughts about, actually, I definitely didn't share my thoughts about Austin with you guys, which is crazy. Um, I mentioned being drunk earlier in this episode. I want you to know that in the last episode, I believe it was like the first week that I wasn't drinking. I did not drink for a whole year, an entire year, plus one day, because it was a leap year. And I went from December 17th to December 17th. So it was the best thing that I ever did. I know I'm hopping around, but I wanted you all to know that I kept my word. I quit for a year. It felt great. A bunch of people got married and had events and stuff, and there were open bars, and that was incredibly tempting and difficult, but it was worth it. I did not have one sip of alcohol, not one solitary sip. And by the time I was, allowed to drink again, it just made it so much better because I felt like I really, really, truly earned it. And part of that struggle kind of informed it kind of like reestablished a new level of confidence in myself where I'm like, yeah, I could, like, don't ever forget that you can do really hard things. Like, they're not fun, and life is so stressful these days that like you want to just kind of be lazy and eat shitty food and not clean as much as you need to or work out as much as you need to because it's like hard to force yourself to do things. But sometimes you kind of just have to be like, you just have to pretend like, well, what if I had to? Like, what if it was the law? Or what if the stakes were higher and if I didn't do this, like bad things will happen, there will be bad consequences. Sometimes you have to invent your own stakes to succeed in life. And baby, I think that's called discipline. Maybe. So going back to this geographical spiel, LA's inability to like really level with their people and kind of weigh the issues of COVID with the reality of what was going on with COVID, I guess. Not to get like too political, but like I believe that LA probably could have opened a little sooner, probably didn't have to have like crazy mask rules for that long. And, for a million different reasons, people use that as their that and a couple of other things as their reason to go to Austin. And Texas is a state with no state income tax, and that's helpful and cool if you work remotely. If not, then like you got to get a new job in Texas if you move there. But above all else, like, people in the entertainment industry used it as a way to create this new, comedy mecca, the comedy mothership, Sunset Strip. Um, Creek in the Cave was the first one, right? Creek in the Cave was Brooklyn or Queens. I don't know. That was like a year. I believe that the year that the Creek in the Cave closed in New York was like a year before I got back into stand up. So I kind of just missed it. But apparently, like, Hans Kim was there too before he moved to Austin and his whole career launched. And so a lot of people followed, and like, you could tell that, like, I think Joe Rogan did an amazing thing creating the Comedy Mothership. It's so this is going to sound very silly to say this, but it is like a selfless thing to do when you have that much money to like go through the stress. There's a fly. That's why I'm swatting. To go through the stress of opening up a club and understanding that like you're not necessarily doing it to make money. He says that all the time. He's like, we're basically just trying to break even. We want it to be this like comedy wonderland, and it it pretty much is in like all the practical ways. Like, not having phones is cool. I personally think that's kind of lame because, like, in my opinion, you should kind of stand on your business. Like, unless you're doing something like private where you're like gonna launch it to the public later and like you just don't want people to see it, like you're rehearsing your special, for instance, and like you don't want people to leak the material of the special because it's about to be broadcast to millions of people, whatever. Like, that makes sense to me. But like, for the bar to be like that you're hiding your phone because like what you're doing is like so special and so precious that like, you can't be like held accountable for what you say. Like, I think that's kind of silly. Like, but whatever. um Joe Rogan did something amazing by creating that club, and like, because Joe Rogan is who he is, everyone followed, and getting Shane Gillis down there was a big deal because it kind of validated the whole thing. Like, everyone else moving there kind of like didn't matter, but then getting Shane there, I can tell that that was like uh a big win for like people like Tony Hinchcliffe and the, not to call it the Rogan sphere because it's like they're not all friends really, but like, um it's that made everyone think like, oh yeah, this really is the new place to be. But what you don't understand is that, I mean, unless you've been to Austin and you've seen it for yourself, like, what has actually occurred is that you now have this, uh I mean, for lack of a better term, like circle jerk of holier than thou type, like, comedy purists. I don't necessarily mean holy, but like, they're comedy purists. They are like, this is an art, we're doing art, like, but then like they proceed to tell like the hack material that like you would see in a dive bar in Ohio. Like, it's nothing interesting. Like, there's definitely talent in Austin, especially like the young talent. They're working really hard, and um but like, ultimately you're not seeing the cream of the crop, and like, there's a ceiling there. Like, the ceiling in Austin is the comedy mothership. There's nothing bigger unless you're doing like theaters, arenas. Like, the comedy mothership pays more than any other club. I don't think any other club is going to be able to compete with the rates that Joe Rogan and the club in general is paying people. And it's a gorgeous place to be, and they treat the staff really well, and the staff gets to have fun with some of the most famous, fun, interesting people on the planet, and also the Sham Wow guy for some reason. Um, but like, it's when you hit that ceiling, you still like you got to go somewhere else, and where you go from there is New York or LA. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting like the cream of the crop exists in New York and LA still. And I live in New Jersey. I'm not saying that like I'm a New Yorker, but I am, for all intents and purposes, a New York based comic. Like, my comedy pretty much only is done in New York City. Otherwise, I've done LA, but like I don't do shows in Jersey anymore. And the scene in New York is competitive in the like just like in the ways that like the best talent exists in New York. Um, so you can go hop on someone's show and it can be really big names and then some, lower level people, quote unquote, like me, and um, open micers and everyone in between. And there are open micers who are extremely fucking talented, and there are people with millions of followers who have never said a funny thing in their lives. Like, there's a huge spectrum that exists, but so many different attitudes and perspectives, levels of success, opportunities to succeed. If people don't like you at like the stand or the cellar, like you can still do stuff. You can have your own show. You can, you know, you can be a host. You can do whatever you want. You can do shit in Brooklyn. You can do alt shit in places that normally don't have comedy. You can do theater stuff. You can, you know, there's so many different opportunities. But with Austin, it's like it just kind of seems like everyone only cares about Kill Tony and Joe Rogan and telling trans jokes, which is just like what do you think you're doing? You know? I mean, like you can joke about whatever you want. I'm not saying you're not allowed to tell trans jokes, but like at least to have like some kind of nuanced opinion. Like it's pretty exhausting to hear people like bash trans people who like you can tell that like they don't even dislike trans people themselves. They just like want to be edgy, and it's a shitty place to hang your hat. It's a lazy place to hang your hat. Austin is cool for a couple days. I will say I've never felt less safe in a comedy environment. Like I've been robbed, I've been assaulted, I've been not in Austin, but like I'm saying in life, and like walking the streets of New York at 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, like it still doesn't feel as sketchy and like predatory as Austin does. Because the energy there, it's like people who are either too afraid to go to New York and LA or succeed, or they're people who failed in New York and LA and would like to see if they can like reinvent themselves in Austin. For whatever reason. Then you get there and then everyone's bitter because it's like, you know, the same. I mean, there's so many comics are going there and it's becoming just like an oversaturated dick joke frenzy, which sounds like a cool movie, but it's not a cool reality, I guess, is my point. So, yeah, I went to Austin last February and like not this year, but the year before. And I went for just a couple days. I tried to do Kill Tony just like for the experience of it, but not because like it is my dream in life. I really wanted to get a feel for what people were doing in Austin, how, where, why, like trying to meet people who like ran open mics and ran real shows and um venue owners. And at the time I was like, well, let me see where I can do a SIG club, because last February I didn't plan on, I hadn't yet arrived at the decision to kill the show. So I was like, oh, the Creek in the Cave would be perfect actually because of Oh, there's so many noises in this house. Um, Hello? Oh my God, I'm scared. Um, that's so weird. Oh, I'm scared. I'm sorry. So, yeah, the Creek in the Cave was a really cool place that I was like, okay, I can see myself doing the SIG Club here. And I met some cool people in Austin, like people that I still follow on Instagram and people who I was like in line with at Kill Tony who eventually got on Kill Tony. And now like you see them doing really well on social media and like that's cool. But uh it's just not, it has a toxic vibe. It has a like competitive in like a dirty, shitty way and not like a cool, normal way, if that makes any sense, kind of vibe. Like, I don't know. I don't, I really don't think I'll go back unless I am paid to do so or like someone's getting married there or something. Like, it'll be a very long time before I just like elect to go to Austin. And if you're watching this and you're like, should I move to Austin to start my comedy career? The answer is probably no, unless you feel some kind of gut instinct that, you know, that is your place and your truth. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to poo poo that idea for you, but like, um, if you really want to make it in comedy, you still got to go to New York or LA. And I wouldn't even at this point like fuck LA for comedy. Like, there's no comedy scene. There's comics, comedians and comics, like, you know, people who do comedy of all different varieties in LA. You can start your career in LA, but it's harder. Like in New York, you can jump to a million open mics. And in Austin, these open mics, oh my God, they're fucking. I went and I took my sister, and she had just started comedy at the time. And I was excited for her to come with me because I'm like, you know, let's just like this is perfect. I want to see all these different open mics. I want to see all these different venues. Um, I want to see what the process of Kill Tony is like. What types of people are signing up? Like they're always like, there's 200 people waiting outside, and then you see 10 people. Like, um, and yeah, I watch Kill Tony because it's like it's basically like watching the news for comedy. Like you, if you're keen enough to people's, you know, energy and the way that they're talking to one another, it gives you a decent idea of what's going on down there and what people think they're doing down there versus like what actually is happening. And look, it's in the best interest of Tony Hinchcliffe and the like to gas up Austin and say that it's great because without the buy-in of really successful people and hundreds upon thousands of open micers, then there is no scene. They're still building it. The effect is kind of tapering off now because you know, you can only have so many open mics. And then, you know, of course, open micers by and large are very lazy people. It's only once you like kind of find your niche um, and get a little bit of recognition that you like stop being an open micer and do your own shit and do other people's shit and like start snowballing into some semblance of a career. I'm not shitting on open mics. I'm just talking about like, you know, it is the entry level of comedy. So by and large, an open mic community is like, you know, there are many people who are just starting. It might be their second, third, or even first time doing comedy. And a lot of people will quit very early on. So you're just getting like this influx, this like huge um wave of like really lazy, toxic, weird people who all just like want to be famous, period. Like they want to be famous in the laziest way possible by like telling offensive jokes that are not really creative or funny or cool at all. So that's not fun. But yeah, if you want to be a comic, just go to New York or move to New Jersey or move to somewhere and then, you know, spend the evenings in New York and hit a bunch of mics and network. I'm sorry, dirty word, but like there's no other real way to categorize it. You know, make friends, meet people, be smart, and things will happen to you, good things. And if you're not funny and you want to be and you work at it, you can find your voice and be funny and things will happen. But there are a lot of barriers to entry in LA that are kind of softer in New York. And I feel like even though New York rewards a lot of dumb social media bullshit, like if you have a good social media following, then they'll like, put you higher on the, in the hierarchy than people who are funny and don't have a great social media following. But hey, that's where we are right now, Overall, New York is the way to go. So even though I am in Florida right now, I am going to New York once more. But hey, I'd be crazy if I didn't say this. Florida has the potential to become a new Austin like space. And by that, I mean like it's another state with no state income tax. The weather is beautiful. Uh, the skies are wide open. There are beaches, not a lot of beach activity going on in Texas. Um, but there's, Disney World. There's a lot of opportunities for work. Um, it's like kind of crazy to drive around here, and there's no real comedy scene here. Of course there are comedy clubs, and I'm sure there are pockets of decent comedy scenes around the state. I know that Jacksonville is a pretty good hub for comedy, or so I've been told. But yeah, this like it my overarching point in saying all of this about New York and LA and Austin is that um I've kind of had this feeling that Florida is going to like rise. Like I hate to say this, but as much as I love New York and as much as I think it's like kind of the center of the universe, um it isn't the center of the universe. Like, and it won't be very soon. This is not a threat. I don't know anything like concrete. I haven't seen any weird activity online, but I kind of had this like weird gut feeling that something's going to happen in New York in the next year or two, like maximum, because tensions are getting really high. And they have been high, and everyone in New York is upset and stressed out, and everyone in the world is upset and stressed out. The country's, I'm not going to say falling apart, but I'm way more optimistic than that. But things are a little bit volatile, I guess, to say the least. And no one really knows how to handle it. And money's kind of tight for everybody. And the stressors of all different kinds are culminating in a way that it's like palpable, the energy shift in New York, and it makes me nervous. It's not like oh, there's more homeless people on the street, or you know the crackheads are doing this. Like, no, it's not about that. Like, it's about everyday people losing their minds on a more regular basis and then kind of like staying in that bad headspace. And sorry, I'm so gross. I feel like there's going to be an event, whether it's a social event or a natural disaster, or God forbid the T word, not trans, I mean terrorism. Oops. I think that something is going to happen that is going to make people kind of like flee. And I don't think they're going to flee to LA. Some people will, but that's not really the move either. LA doesn't really take care of their people. the not to be like every other fucking person with a podcast on this godforsaken planet, but um there's a homelessness crisis. um the government does not really take care of its people. They don't have the right priorities. It's beautiful, and it's the best weather pretty much anywhere, and it has like the most diverse kind of landscape. You can go into the mountains, you can go to the beach, you can go to the city, you can go to rural areas, you can go to the desert. Like, it has absolutely everything, and it's a perfect state. It needs to be ran better, but it's really expensive too. And the fires are not gonna really, like, they're done now, but that's not a problem that I think anyone really like learned from. I think they're like, yep, like, ooh, we messed that up a little bit, but we'll figure it out. And like, I just don't have any faith in like their ability to figure out real things right now. I think that they need a massive overhaul of kind of everything except for the land, baby. You're perfect, never change. um but Florida has the potential to kind of like absorb the shock waves of like the fallout of whatever happens in Austin and New York. And I look, I don't want anything bad to happen to New York. I live in Jersey City. I can see the World Trade Center from my apartment, or rather from my street below, because my apartment faces my windows face fucking west. So, um, yeah, I don't think it looks good for New York in the next couple of years. People are too stressed. There's too much up in the air. Not a lot of help. Not a lot of certainty. Not a lot of good vibes. Everyone's kind of like feeding into this like negative loop of, everything sucks. We're doomed. Like, uh, uh, I'm not even saying that everything sucks and we're doomed. I'm saying that like everyone's belief in the fact that everything sucks and that we're doomed is putting us on a bad path. And we have the power to change that. Like, I'm not trying to be like your teacher and be like, your words are spells, but like, words are spells. Like, people ask me a lot, like, how do you stay so optimistic? How do you have all this creative energy? Not to like suck my own dick, but it's like, it's because I'm trying to, every day, I'm trying to master my thoughts. I'm trying to be my own boss. I don't want to succumb to negative energy. I don't want to succumb to, especially not your negative energy. Like, the shit that I say to myself that makes myself spiral, like, that sucks. And it takes a lot of energy and effort to get out of that, and to stop yourself from spiraling if and when you start to spiral. Um, but ultimately, it's up to you to control your thoughts and your actions, and to set yourself up for success, and to put yourself in a mind space, a wavelength even, where you're in control and you feel good. And that you have a good like monologue of self speak. You have a good stream of consciousness, and that like you kind of maintain control in that way. And I feel like it's really easy to be negative. It's easy to complain about stuff, especially when the person that you're blaming for these things is not you. But in this life, you have to just do what you can. Number one, to survive. Number two, to create a good like environment around yourself, and like, and that means people, and your home, and the types of crowds that you're in, and the the energy that is kind of bouncing back and forth between all of you. Like, you have to control the things that you can control, and then for what you can't. You have to let those things go. Like, nobody can change who the president is right now. I don't care what rules exist or clauses or impeach this or, he's a felon that. Like, it doesn't matter who you voted for, if you voted. It, like, we're in this for a couple years. There's not a lot we can do other than be good to each other and to ourselves, and to take care of ourselves and the people that we love. Check in on ourselves and the people that we love. Really, like, uh, it's really just about this kind of game of positive ping pong that, if more of us kind of consciously engaged in, we would all be way better off. I don't know. I don't know. I just want everyone to feel as good as I feel. And trust me, I'm going through it. Like, it's been hard. I just got some scary family news recently. I don't want to say what it is because I want to respect the privacy of that person. I don't know how many people they've told, but um the type of stuff that really puts things in perspective for you. And trust me, I didn't start just being positive because of this bad news. Um, I've always been this way because my mother is this way, because my father is this way, because my grandparents are this way. They're like, fucking take charge of your life. You're not doomed. Nobody's doomed. If you're doomed, then fucking you're doomed. Then go away. Then put yourself away. Put yourself in bed, tuck yourself in, and go to sleep forever. I'm not saying kill yourself. I'm saying that you have to either, get up and fucking, in the words of the gorgeous and perfect Kim Kardashian, get your fucking ass up and work, or don't. Like, I don't want to hear the complaining. I don't want to hear the, oh, social media this, AI that. Look, if you're not like if you're not playing with AI at least like once a week, if you're like afraid of AI or mad at AI, you need to take a step back and realize that, like, you're not changing that shit either. That's one of those things that's not in your control. We're not going to protest and boycott our way out of AI. It's here forever. And it would behoove you to master it in the best way that you can, or in the way that makes you the most money, without stealing anything and without, you know, being disingenuous or infringing upon copyright of any kind. Or, you should still have like your whatever your moral code is. Keep that energy when you're playing with AI. But if you're just kind of like not using it because you're like, oh, it's just a phase, or um like that's wrong. I'm You can laugh at me, you can tell me I'm wrong, we can debate about this all goddamn day. But you're not winning this one. Do yourself a favor and use it to cheat at your job. Use it to uh augment your life in a good way that takes pressure off of you. It's mostly free right now. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen in the future with paywalls and whatever, but the reality is that AI is the ultimate equalizer. You can have no knowledge about something, and with the right questions and the right um you know you can organize your thoughts in such a way where you can pretty much do anything. You can solve like any problem. I'm not saying you can like cure cancer, but like maybe in fucking 3 weeks we can. Like, we don't know that. And for everyone who shits on AI art because it's like derivative of other things, I want you to think about anything you've ever said or done, and whether all of those things have been completely original thoughts. I'm not saying that it's cool to say like, hey, chat GPT, generate this thing in the style of the Simpsons, and then like print that on shirts and sell that, and it's like, you're stealing from the Simpsons. Like, it's a weird example, but like it's an example. um that's not cool, but like the idea that you're saying like, oh well, AI is derived from like every, like if you say tree, it's taking examples of all trees that it's ever, that exist on the internet. It's like, what do you think memories are? What do you think your perspective is? What do you think like your the bank is? Like, it's and if you're listening and not watching, I said the bank and I tapped on my head. That's the bank upstairs. I don't mean money. um you're if you're creating something, if you're a human being creating something, and you're like, for instance, drawing a tree from memory, you're not like creating a new type of tree. You're using your memory to to recall all of the occasions that you've seen a tree, and you're boiling that down into this new idea of a tree. It might be a tree that's never existed in the world. It might be a tree that looks exactly like a tree that someone painted, and you didn't even try to copy that. My point is that like, not everything that AI creates is like blasphemous and wrong. It's not wrong to use. Certainly there aren't probably enough guardrails on it right now. There should, maybe there should be more regulation. I don't even know, but like, to be afraid of it or to protest it or to say that like it's wrong to use, that's not, you're not right, and you will find yourself, in my opinion, fine, you will find yourself on the wrong side of history in this way. Sorry. it, my advice is to make it your bitch. Why not? Why not make AI your bitch? Don't steal. If you don't want to steal, then don't steal. I'm not stealing. Have I tried to use the likeness of the Blue Man Group to play with it occasionally? Of course, but I'm not using it to like make deep fake porn of the Blue Man Group, even though someone else is probably doing that already. And yeah, I'm gonna look it up. Oh man, we've covered a lot today. I did not think I was gonna do an hour, but here we are. Uh, I'm sorry, the beginning was really rambly, but I'm gonna get back into the swing of being a decent speaker and trying not to flash you right now. Thanks for listening to me. If you're still listening, I have a lot of thoughts, and I have a lot of ideas and a lot of things to share with you. And the thing that I've created, this new show that I've finally figured out after 4 months of work, of mulling over different ideas, trying to like, creating worksheets for myself, trying to figure out like what people are afraid of, like what like, and the reason why I'm asking myself these questions is because like I want to start serving people with what I make. It's not all about me and like my success. It's about understanding. And yes, this, you might hear this and be like, could have I ever heard someone verbally jerking themselves off more? Maybe not. I don't care. This is the truth. I know that I am capable of creating something that makes a lasting impression beyond my lifetime, your lifetime, beyond all of our lifetimes. That's the reason why I'm on this earth. It's the reason why I've gone through everything I've gone through. It's the reason why I've learned everything I've learned. It's brought me to this place in time. And guess what? Surprise, you're on earth for a reason too. It might not be the same reason as me. It might be the exact same reason as me. Um, but I believe in destiny. I believe in people not being like a coincidence in and of themselves. Like, I'm at a point, I'm almost 30, and it takes a long time to figure out who you are. And maybe I'm not done with that, but I do know how to make people feel good. And I do know how to make people feel more optimistic about their future and the future in general, to not be afraid of things, of confronting things, of being honest about things, and um, about just like our ability to have like a solid foundation. Like, we're not fucked. I want everyone to know that we're not fucked. And I'm going to try every single day until this show premieres, and beyond. I'm going to show you that we're not fucked. You don't have to be afraid. You have way more power than you think. You have way more love in your life than you think. Even if you think you're the most loved person on earth, or if you think that not a single person on this planet cares about you, it, there's always more out there to appreciate and to ground yourself in. And if you look really hard and you can't find it, and you're at a loss and you're like, I don't know what to do or where to turn, I want you to turn to my work. It might not be this podcast. It might not have been any of the cigarette clubs. It might not be any of the comedy I've ever done. Oops. It might be this new show. Actually, it will be this new show. And it will be what comes out of the show and the extended universe of the show. I mean, guys, I'm building a universe for the first time. I've always wanted to do this. We love Star Wars. We love Harry Potter. We love these, like, franchises. Yes, like they're brands, but they're more than that. They're only brands and franchises and these giant, just freak fests of fictional freak fests, because we love them, and because we love them because they did such a good job creating a world for us that we can escape into, or not escape into, but yes, but also see ourselves in, draw comparisons, watch how these people solve problems. How can I put that energy in my life? You know, I've been through a breakup like that. You see a show where someone's going through a breakup, just like yours, and you realize, oh, maybe I could do that, or oh, I don't like what that person did. I'm gonna do something else. Like that. Our relationship to content, to intellectual property, to these franchises, like, they're important relationships. I'm not saying I want you to I don't want to distract you. And that's kind of the difference, actually. I can maybe hang my hat and the podcast on this, is I everything I've done so far is like a distraction. I'm like, I just want you to forget about life for an hour, or however long, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And everyone who's making reels, I get it, get your bag, build that audience, but it just feels so disposable. And when we use our phones, it doesn't make us feel good. It makes us feel like we're wasting time. We're going to get savvier to that very, very soon. And the social media bubble will begin to burst in, and that will be for everyone's good. And don't worry, guys. All my friends who have great social media followings, you will have careers. You earned your following. I'm not saying you're not funny. I'm not saying you don't deserve it. I'm not saying that there's no value in social media fame. But it's not fulfilling anyone's anything. It's not solving any problems. And I don't think that any of my friends who do social media are doing it because they love Instagram. They're doing it because they want to be famous, or because they want it to bridge to their next project or something bigger and better. Like how I use stand-up. you know? Like I I use stand up to kick my own ass, to practice different styles of writing, different styles of performing, to be self-sufficiently performing, like, you know? Um but ultimately, I never saw myself having a stand-up special, to have an hour, to have a half hour. I never cared about that. I used it as a means to an end. And like it brought me to this point, to the development of the show. And in the show, I do not want to distract anyone. I want you to feel seen and heard. And I want to give you hope about the future. And I want to give you, I also want to kind of scare some of us straight, and kind of create some kind of warning about some of these things that I've been talking about, and some of the other things that make me nervous about the world. But ultimately, the my goal is to show everybody that we're not fucked. We're going to be okay. And I love you, and the the universe loves you, and there's so much to be grateful for and to be excited about. Um, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be careful, and that doesn't mean that I'm not nervous about what's going on with New York and people's energy right now. I mean, things are really, really fucking crazy. But that is what is fueling me to do this new show. And I know that it is my masterpiece, and it is what I'm put on this earth to do. And whether you see it eventually or you don't, um, I want you to know that you can do this too. You can just kind of decide to write a musical or a movie, or you can decide to be a chef, or you can decide to, you know, quit your job and live in a van. Like, you there's kind of like this free will trend going on right now, where everyone's talking like, oh, don't forget you have free will. Baby, that's how I've been living since day one. I have the silliest life in the world because I make it that way, because it's my job to amuse myself, to have fun, not at other people's expense, not making fun of people, hurting people. Um, you got to like make your own fun and your own magic in life. And why not fill every day with magic? Why not wake up and like choose brilliance? And I don't mean brilliance like intelligence, I mean brilliance like light, infectious, positive energy. We can choose that every day. And I'm choosing that for me. And I'm working really hard to show you that all of this beauty and good energy, there's not a finite supply. It is infinite. It is abundant, and it will continue to grow for whoever wants it. It's there for the taking. And but we also have to really take care of each other right now, and be aware of the fact that stress is putting people in really weird headspaces. And overall, just like be kind to your friends, be kind to your family, give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't get into arguments with internet strangers. Don't create discourse if you don't have to, please. We don't need that right now. And ultimately, I love you. And there's a lot to look forward to. I look forward to briefing you as things move on. But be well, stay well. I guess that's it for this episode of Lauren's Dreamhouse. And wow, it was a whirlwind, huh? But we got there. And I'll get back into, being able to talk by myself and not lose my train of thought. I probably won't be drunk next time, but hey, guys, when in Florida, um, I can't wait for the rest of this year. By the way, if you've been feeling shitty for the past couple of months, you're going to feel a lot better around May. And then by June, you're probably going to be doing really, really fucking well, unless something like very specifically random happens to you. But energy wise, the stars have not really been on our side. But things are going to get better in the middle of the year. You're going to think I'm crazy, but you're also going to remember this when I'm right. Um, and man, I hope I'm wrong about everything I said about New York, but unfortunately, these hunches are they've never they've never let me down. So hope no one gets hurt, but stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. Be good, and I can't wait to talk to you again. So I love you, and I guess drop something in the comments if there's something you want me to talk about, ramble about. Happy to do it. I'm here to help. I'm a vessel of help and fun and silliness and love. I love you. Bye.